Hi, my name is Christopher and I work at the Ann Arbor District Library in Michigan. For a long time, I've wanted to introduce our patrons to something called interactive fiction. It's a sort of choose your own adventure style story where you get to decide what the main character does. There are two basic types of these sort of stories. One is called choice based. Imagine you're visiting your cousin and a volcano starts to erupt. Do you A, grab a camera and go outside to take pictures, B, run outside and try to get away, or C, go into the basement to take shelter? A different kind of these stories is called Parser based. You are visiting your cousin and a volcano starts to erupt. What do you do? So, a parser based story is much more open ended, and that's the kind of story that we're looking at today and that the library is going to be hosting for us. To get you ready for that story, I wanted to show you a simple interactive fiction based on the fox, chicken, and sack of corn riddle. This was written by Andrew Gang and is called Sheep Crossing. Let's take a look. This looks similar to the game that the library is going to be hosting. At the top in the black banner is your current location, and then we see the title and the author, Sheep Crossing by Andrew Gang. So in our first paragraph, we see East Bank. Again, that's the current location. On your way to grandmother's house to bring her a cabbage, a sheep, and a bear, you find yourself standing on a muddy riverbank. A small wooden boat bobs in the water. To the west, across the river, lies the West Bank. So we imagine that we've got to go west to deliver these three things to grandmother. Most of the commands that we enter should be in a command form. So do this, um, you know, drink that, go there, something like that. So we know that we have to go west, but just to test out the game, we'll try a different direction. How about go north? Oh, before you can get very far, you are called back by the anxious bleating of your sheep. Great. So the game does understand some basic directions. We can also abbreviate that to just N. Oh, it's a little bit different. You get a little further before you are called back by the anxious bleating of your sheep. We can also go east. It's a long way back home. Why don't you go west to grandmother's house first? So the game is nudging us in a certain direction, which is wonderful. Let's try some other commands. Let's try pet the sheep. The sheep slowly backs away. Let's try grab the sheep. So grab is not something that the game understands. How about take the sheep? The sheep evades your attempts to pick it up. All you get for your efforts is a hungry baa. Now, the game is giving us a very important hint here. It really does pay to read the story. So the sheep is hungry. Now, we weren't told this, and it might have been better to help the reader by knowing what was available, but there is some grass here, and so I'm going to take grass. You pull up some blades of grass. Now, I also might want to check to see what I'm holding, and I can hit I for inventory. You are carrying some blades of grass. What do we want to do with that? We want to give grass to the sheep. Wonderful. Crunch, crunch, crunch. The sheep bleats contentedly. Maybe it'll be more cooperative now. Let's try again. Take sheep. The sheep is a bit heavy, but with its cooperation, you manage to pick it up. And if we hit I again for inventory, we are now carrying a sheep. So we go through this process. figuring out what the game understands. Generally, it will nudge us in the right direction, and we need to get to grandmother's house. So I hope you'll enjoy the story that the library is hosting. There will be 3 chapters, one chapter released in January, February, and finally in March.